everyone again. This is your part 2 of your Mycology Virology seminar. So we'll start now with the Virology. Again, our outline of the discussion would be first the terms and concepts used in virology, your two houses, which is the DNA viruses and the RNA viruses, and the laboratory diagnosis used in viral diseases. So first, your virology is the study of viruses. Your virus is the smallest infectious agent, and they are considered as a obligate intracellular pathogen, meaning obligado silang manirahan sa mga cells para mabuhay sila. At dahil kailangan nila yung cells, they only replicate sa mga cells na ini-invade nila. Okay? So without any living cell, hindi sila pwedeng mag-reproduce. And then aside from that, they only contain either one kind of nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA. Now, you have your different terminologies in virology. You have your capsid. You have your capsid. Your capsid is a protein shell or coat that encloses your nucleic acid genome. In this case, ang capsid nyo, ito. It covers the nucleic acid genome, which is either DNA or RNA. Next, you have your capsomer or capsomere. This is the protein subunit of your virus. Si capsomere, ito siya, yung mga spikes, yung yellow part. Next, your envelope. Envelope, from the name itself, it envelopes the virus particles. And take note, your envelope are lipid-containing membrane. So, your envelope, this one. Yan. Next, your virion, kapag itong buong to, this is what you call your virion because it's a complete virus particle. It serves to transfer the viral nucleic acid from one cell to another. So, madaming virion, example, I draw another virion here. So, kapag nag-attach sila sa isa't isa, they would replicate sa cells ng in-infect nila. Now, you also have your viral architecture. O, diba? May architecture din tayo sa medtech. For this one, you have your helical shape, your icosahedral shape, complex shape, and then ito, mas realistic lang yung picture. Helical, icosahedral, and then complex. Usually kasi, ang common notion natin for viruses, itong complex na itsura. Saan natin to nakita? Nakita natin to sa Jimmy Neutron, diba? So, aside from this one, meron din naman tayong icosahedral and yung helical shapes. Now, there are several rules that you have to follow or remember in DNA and RNA viruses. So, first one sa DNA muna tayo. All are double-stranded DNA except your parvovirus. Okay? Because your parvovirus is a single-stranded DNA. Next, number 2. All are icosahedral in shape except your Poxvirus. Because your Poxvirus has a shape of box or brick or oval. Next, all are envelope except your PAP. PAP stands for Papovavirus, your Adenovirus, and your Parvovirus. Okay? Again, all are envelope except your Papova, your Adeno, and your Parvoviruses. And then lastly, all of the DNA viruses multiply in the nucleus except for Poxvirus because your Poxvirus multiplies in the cytoplasm. Next, we go to your RNA viruses. First one, all are single-stranded RNA viruses except your reovirus because your reovirus is a double-stranded RNA. Next, all are enveloped. All RNA viruses are enveloped except PCR. Your PCR is your picornaviruses, your calciviruses, and your reoviruses. Again, all RNA viruses are enveloped except PCR, picornavirus, calcivirus, and reovirus. Next, all are non-segmented except ROBA. Your ROBA are, first one is reovirus, O is for orthomyxo virus. B is the bunyavirus, and A is the arenavirus. So again, all RNA viruses are non-segmented except your ROBA, reovirus, orthomyxovirus, bunyavirus, and arenavirus. And lastly, generally, RNA are helical in shape except all positive sense RNA viruses. Also take note of the life cycle of viruses. You always start with the attachment and then penetration sa cell, and then aalis na siya sa pagiging virus niya, mag-uncoat na siya, lalabas na yung DNA or RNA niya, and then it will undergo synthesis until the formation of the formation of new viruses or the assembly part, and then lysis and release sa labas ng cell to infect another new cell. Pupunta na siya sa bagong cell. So again, a summary, you always start with attachment or adsorption, and then penetration, and then 3 uncoating, 4 is the synthesis, 5 is the assembly or maturation of the virus inside the cell, and then lastly, lysis and release outside the cell to infect another healthy cell. So we go now with the first house, which is the DNA viruses. What you need to remember for this one is the mnemonic Hep P, H2AP4. Ganito ako mag-memorize. Kasi DNA viruses yung pinaka-konti. Yung RNA viruses, sobrang dami nila. So, yung tatandaan ko na lang, yung DNA. Tapos, bahala na yung RNA. So, you have your Herpesviridae, Hepadnavirus, Adenoviridae, Poxviridae, Parvoviridae, Polyomaviridae, and Papillomaviridae. We'll just run down each of them one by one. So again, take note of this one. Your DNA viruses is divided into being a double-stranded and a single-stranded DNA. For double-stranded, it's divided again into two. Merong envelope at merong unenvelope. Tatandaan nyo si Hepadna, herpes, and pox viruses are envelope, while your unenvelope is your PAP, your polyoma, papilloma, and your adenoviruses. And ang nag-iisang single-stranded DNA is si parvovirus. So we go now to the first DNA virus, which is Herpesviridae. So your Herpesviridae has at least 8 types. So you have your HSV 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take note, tatandaan nyo sa herpes simplex 1, usually ang infection niya is above the waist. Kapag herpes simplex 2, it's below the waist. So tatandaan nyo, pag herpes simplex 1, sa above ng waist. Kapag herpes simplex virus 2, below the waist. And usually the cause of genital herpes. Next, your HSV 3 is the varicella zoster virus, which wherein yung primary infection ng VSV is the chickenpox. And then kapag nag-recurrent ulit yung infection or yung virus na to, it now becomes your shingles. It also causes your Ray's syndrome And the diagnosis used for varicella zoster virus is the Shank smear. Later on, we'll discuss what is Shank smear. So, next, you have your Epstein-Barr virus. It causes your infectious mononucleosis, wherein it infects the B cells in the human body. Next, you have your cytomegalovirus or CMV. It is the #1 cause of congenital infection. It is transmitted through transplacental, oral, sexual, and tissue transplant. And yung most important dito is yung hematological description niya, which is the owl eye inclusions. And then, your HHV6 or human herpes virus 6 is the cause of Rosola infantum or the 6th disease. And then, HHV7, wala. And then, HHV8, ang distinguishing characteristic lang sa kanya is it causes a bluish purple in the skin. So, ito, nasabi ko na kanina, your varicella zoster virus is the #3 childhood disease. Primary infection, chickenpox. Pag umulit, shingles. EBV, again, it infects the B cells. Also have the heterophile antibodies. Heterophile antibodies can be detected through the monospot test sa immunosero to. And kapag sa hematology naman, it's the hematological description for this one is the downy cells or the atypical T cells. Your cytomegalovirus, so ang important na characteristic dito is yung owl eye inclusion. Ito siya. And then human herpes virus 8, again it causes the bluish color in the skin, and that is the Kaposi's sarcoma. It is also the #1 cause of cancer in patients with AIDS. Tatandaan din to. Now, dahil na-mention ko na yung mga viruses na yon, your Guillain-Barre syndrome, again, na-discuss ito sa immunosero part niya. Your Guillain-Barre syndrome is an inflammatory disorder that affects the peripheral nerves outside the brain and the spinal cord. Although the Guillain-Barre syndrome have no etiologic cause, usually kasi persons with GBS usually have Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, or the Zika virus. Okay, tatandaan tong tatlong ito. So, your second DNA virus is your Hepadnavirus, specifically your Hepatitis B virus. It's also known as your serum hepatitis, Australian antigen, or the post-transfusion hepatitis because it is a blood-borne infection or type of hepatitis. And the infectious particle present in it is what you call your Dane particle. So, ang transmission niya is through parenteral, sexual, and perinatal. So, ito, na-mention na to sa immunosero nyo, but I'll just run over it kasi important kasi sila. So, hindi lang siya important sa virology part, important din siya sa immunosero. Kasi ito, lumabas din to ng boards namin, as far as I can remember. So, this is a summary of the diagnostic markers for hepatitis B. Take note that your HBs antigen is the first marker to appear sa serum. So, pag positive siya ng HBsAg, meaning, meron na siyang hepatitis B. May hepatitis B infection na siya. Next, kapag present na din yung HBe antigen, meaning it has a high infectivity and very high vertical transmission risk. So, kasi, dito na yung active viral replication ng hepatitis B. So, kapag may HBe na yung HBe antigen yung person, therefore, madali na siyang makahawa ng ibang people. Next, you have your third antigen, which is the HBC. Your HBC antigen is not detectable in serum. Rather, it is detected in biopsy of infected hepatocytes. So, makikita lang si HBC antigen through tissue specimen. And then, after that one, you form your antibodies. Your fourth one to produce is the anti-HBC HBC is divided into two. Meron kayong IgM, anti-HBC IgM, and anti-HBC IgG. Si IgM, kapag meron na siyang anti-HBC IgM, meaning, currently, meron siyang infection for hepatitis B. Next, kapag meron siyang IgG, anti-HBC, yon, current infection din, pero, in a longer time, this would persist in life. And then, you also have your anti-HBE, meaning, meron na siyang recovery, nasa recovery part na siya. And it's the lowest infectivity. So, pag nandito na siya, pagaling na siya, tas hindi na din siya nakakahawa. And lastly, your anti-HBS, meaning, magaling na yung patient nyo because this is the marker of immunity as well as it has a past infection na. Next, you have your Adenoviridae. This is the number 1 cause of viral conjunctivitis. So, Adenoviridae, ang tatandaan nyo sa kanya yung eyes. Okay, yan. Basta yan. Now, you also have to remember the following diseases it causes and the serotypes for each diseases. Ito, tandaan nyo talaga yung serotypes nila kahit mahirap i-memorize. Next, you have your Poxviridae. Your Poxviridae is a brick-shaped virus. Ito sila. And then, inclusions are your guarneri bodies. Dito na-discover yung vaccine, wherein your vaccinia is the vaccine against your smallpox or yung cowpox na na-eradicate na. And then you also have your molluscum contagiosum, which are wart-like tumors. Kapag variola major, ang tawag doon, smallpox. Kapag variola minor, ang tawag doon, alastrim. Alam ko, nabanggit din to sa immunocero. Next, your Parvoviridae. Specifically, ang i-discuss lang natin si Parvovirus B19. Your Parvovirus B19 causes the erythema infectiosum or the 5th disease. The distinguishing characteristics for this one is the slap cheeks. Kasi parang sinampal yung person, kaya namumula yung cheeks niya. Yun. Next, you have your Polyomaviridae. Ang i-discuss lang dito is si BK virus and si JC virus. For Papillomaviridae, these are the most common term for this one are the warts. And then the Virocae, tawag sa warts is Virocae kapag nakikita siya sa fingers, saka sa sole, sa tarampakan, saka sa face. Ang tawag naman sa warts na nakikita sa genital is the Condylomata acuminata. Huwag kayong papalito sa Condylomata lata. O, recall tayo, saan si Condylomata lata? Si Condylomata lata sa syphilis, okay? Si Condylomata acuminata sa Papillomaviruses or warts. Okay? Huwag papalito doon.